Well, for many Iraqis, the recommendations made in the progress reports which are coming out of Washington this week are going to have little or no impact. Let's take a look at what for them is the real Iraq, based on a study by Johns Hopkins University using methods backed by the British government. We calculate that more than 750,000 Iraqi civilians have lost their lives since the start of the war 4 years ago. More than 2.6 million Iraqis have fled their country since March 2003. Many have sought refuge in neighbouring countries such as Syria and Jordan. Up to 50,000 people are forced to leave their homes every month. And more than 2.2 million Iraqis are homeless within Iraq. That's according to the International Organization of Migration. For those who've stayed behind, daily life in towns and cities is a constant battle, quite literally. The Brookings Institute says that 40 people are kidnapped in Baghdad every day. Basic resources are poor. Electricity available for just 2 to 6 hours every day, and the quality and supply of water remains unreliable pretty much everywhere in Iraq. Now consider those realities alongside some facts on the money that the US is spending on the war. The US government's sent more than $500 billion to Iraq. It's currently spending about $300 million a day. And that figure is expected to rise as the US government looks to spend an additional $100 billion this year. In his testimony to the US Congress, General David Petraeus pointed to what he claims is his army's success in Iraq's Anbar province. It was once an al-Qaeda heartland, and General Petraeus says that with the help of local Sunni tribes, al-Qaeda has now been forced out of Anbar. But as Josh Rushing discovered on a trip with the US Army in Abu Ghraib, the Sunni tribal support may be creating resentments that could explode once US forces withdraw.
Sandwiched between the Anbar province and Baghdad exists an area infamous for the worst of American missteps in Iraq. Abu Ghraib, a prison, city, and an area of roughly 270 square kilometers, has historically stood as the western gate of Baghdad. These days, the Abu Ghraib prison stands eerily empty, but according to the U.S. Army, the Abu Ghraib area is rebounding.
We were staying here 6 months ago. Probably by now we'd be taking small arms fire and precision sniper fire.
Lieutenant Colonel Kurt Pinkerton commands the local U.S. Army battalion and says that the change in Abu Ghraib was prompted by a new strategy.
I mean, when I got here, I was probably 80% warrior and 20% politician. I mean, we were fighting to get into the areas. We were fighting to stay in the areas. It made it very hard to communicate and talk to the people and try to rebuild. Right now, because of the security the way it is, I'm probably, 30% warrior and 70% politician.
He's also found new allies, such as this man, known as the Sheikh of Sheikhs of the local town. Did you used to be against the Americans?
I've nothing against the Americans, but the principle is if you attack me, I'll attack you. And if you shake my hand, I'll shake your hand.
So on a handshake, Pinkerton and the U.S. Army are recruiting, training, and organizing a security force of local tribesmen. Volunteers here come with their own rifles, but are paid by the U.S. However, the plan for this new unofficial security force is to transition to the Iraqi payroll as national police. In the next couple of weeks, 1,500 recruits are completing police boot camp at 2 new academies in Abu Ghraib. The need for volunteers and the new police is urgent because the local Iraqi army just isn't effective or trusted. In fact, Pinkerton says he no longer operates with them.
What I was explaining to the
spending his time instead with the locals. The Americans aren't alone in their frustration.
We don't trust the Iraqis at all.
But as with most things in Iraq, there are no good options. Do they trust the Americans?
No, not much.
Though things seem more peaceful today, there are real fears of a civil war if the U.S. pulls out. What would happen if the Americans pulled out too soon?
It'll be a catastrophe if they leave quickly. The Iranians will take over, and the Maliki government's connected with the Iranians. We need for the Americans to remain here. They're my guarantee against al-Maliki and his government. We want them here to safeguard this country.
Safeguard, that is, against the American-backed government in Baghdad. Josh Rushing, Abu Ghraib, Al Jazeera.